with the feet shoulder width distance apart again, a little bend in the knees. What we're going to do first of all is begin with a little bit of abdominal breathing. So closing the eyes, breathing in and out through the nose, smiling. And just 3 abdominal breaths. Breathe in, feel the belly expand. Breathing out, feeling the belly shrink. And then twice more in your own time. And opening the eyes. So what we're going to do first of all is we are going to find this point on the body called the gate of life. So this point in acupuncture and in Qigong, Chinese medicine terms, its Chinese name is Mingmen. And it's on the spine in the lower half of the spine, in the lower part of the back. So the way in which you can find it, and I'll show you what to do now, is to place your hands on your rib cage and just run your hands down the rib cage until you can feel the very bottom of the rib cage. So the thumbs are pointing towards the back, your fingers towards the front, and it's almost like you kind of find that lower margin of the rib cage there. And from there, what I'd like you to do with your thumbs is move them horizontally back across the body, across the back of the body, so that they meet each other. Now, if your shoulders are not that flexible, that's fine, but just have that idea of your thumbs meeting. So I'll just turn around and show you what I'm doing. And then this point here is Mingmen, so in where the thumbs meet. So you don't have to be exact for this because you're not obviously doing acupuncture on this point, you're not using any needles, but you just need to have that idea that this point, Mingmen, is on that, well, in the spine, so it's below the skin surface, it's not directly on the skin surface, it's a little bit below the skin surface, in the spine, in the lower back there. And that point is called the gate of life in Chinese medicine and in Qigong. And it's a very beneficial point acupuncture-wise for helping to nourish the kidney system of the body. It's also obviously very good for any kind of lower back pain. And what we can do with Qigong, with this specific Qigong exercise, is allow the free and unobstructed movement of Qi and really allow for the conditions for more Qi to come into this point in the spine, the gate of life, and thereby benefiting that whole kind of lower back kidney area. So you know where it is now, you know where Mingmen is, and you can look that up anywhere online. You'll find the location of that point if you want more clarification around that. But what we want to do as well is we want to make sure that it's open. It's as open as it can be. And often it's not. And the reason being that when we're standing, we often stand with a curve in our spine. So if I show you now from the side, what you can see is if often people kind of have the bottom sticking out and their belly sticking out and this really kind of quite strong curve in the spine here. And when the spine is curved like this, what happens to the vertebrae, the bones in the back, is they all kind of get squashed together. So what we want to do is open them up. And the way in which we do that is we tuck the pelvis down and forwards. So you're imagining that the buttocks are going down and then everything's moving forwards and you're lifting a little in the abdomen. So you've got this idea of a movement coming down and round and up. So if I show you what that looks like, so this is the curved spine here. And then if I move the buttocks down, the tailbone goes down, and then the pelvis draws up, the abdomen draws up, and you see how my back, my lower back, flattens out. So this then opens up and creates spaces between all the vertebrae. So just have a go at that now. Just practice rounding and really squashing everything together in the lower back and feel the tension. You can feel the muscles all kind of contracting and everything getting a bit more squashed in that area. And then rounding and moving the pelvis forwards and lifting up in the abdomen to create more space in the spine, and feel that lovely openness here in the lower back around Mingmen. feeling that openness is a sign that you've really got lots of space in the area, and when there's space, there's room for healing to take place. There's space for chi or energy and for blood and fluid to move into the area and to circulate freely around that area. So that's a really important point. There's no point in doing this exercise at all unless you've got the spine in the correct position. So just moving backwards and forwards, you can very easily feel the difference. Okay, so you want that lovely flat back for this. So now, what I'd like you to do is I want you to imagine that your spine is a solid rod of steel from top to bottom. So from the base of your neck all the way down to the area of your lower back, your spinal area there. So just imagining that. And then close the eyes for a moment. See that rod of steel. So your spine now is completely inflexible. It's like all the vertebrae are fused together. Open the eyes. And so what I'd like you to do now is I want you to turn to one side, but you've still got this rod of steel. So you're going to turn to one side, and the hips, the whole of the torso and the shoulders are all going to move to one side and then move to the other side. So it's almost like a robotic movement. Everything's moving together. Okay. So this is an example of what not to do when we're opening the gate of life. What we want to do is create a lovely twist, especially in the lower back and the waist area. So that's everything moving together. So we want to avoid that. Okay. The next thing we often make the mistake of doing in our practice for this exercise is only moving the hips. So just have a go at that now. So bring your mind to your hip area here and think of moving this hip area side to side. So you see the hips go to one side, the knees and the legs go to one side. Everything is moving, but it's all coming from the hips, around the tops of the legs. And you might even feel a bit of discomfort in the knees as you do this, because it's kind of stretching and extending the tendons and the ligaments at the sides of the knees. So again, that's not the best way in which to perform this exercise. What we're actually looking for is we're looking for rotation in this lower half of the body, all the way around. So imagine that you've got a big kind of fat wide belt that's going around your body here. And this is the area in which you want to create a lovely spiraling kind of twisting action, which in combination with that lovely open spine that you've just created will help to mobilize and bring more chi into this area of Ming Men, the gate of life. So this is where we're at. So I was trying to think of ways in which you could visualize or really get that twist going on without involving the hips or the shoulders too much. And what you can do is just taking one arm to one side here. Imagine it's as though you're kind of wringing out a cloth. So if you imagine as you turn the body to one side now, you're starting in this lower abdomen area where you've got the belt, and you're wringing all the way up. So you will get some movement in the shoulders, but it's like you're starting down here, and maybe even just take the arm and draw it around and feel that twist in the lower back area. And then there will be a follow through of shoulders and chest area as well, but it's coming from this lower area to start with. You're not leading with the shoulders. And then go back the other way, even just drawing that lower abdominal area around. And then you feel in the lower back around here, you feel a little bit more action going on. So hopefully that will kind of help you to keep this area in mind as we do the exercise. So what I'd like you to do now is very slowly just start to turn and be very mindful of that lower back area, just turning from side to side very gently, keeping the chin parallel with the ground. So allow the shoulders to follow, but remember that the movement is originating in that waist, lower back area. So the hips will follow as well, but not all the way around like this. So it's not this kind of movement, that's too much. So the hips more or less point straight ahead. There is a little bit of sideways movement as the hips follow, but the movement is coming from that lower back area. So once you're kind of familiar with that movement now, I'd like you to bring in a little bit more, and that is a bit more of this vibration just on the knees. So just very softly bouncing up and down on the knees as you are turning side to side. But you're not thinking of the knees really, you're thinking of what's going on in the lower back area. Keeping the pelvis tucked down, abdomen drawing up slightly as you turn from side to side. And as you do this movement, you see that my arms start to just follow the movement. So again, feeling as though everything's very relaxed, the arms like a rag doll, and they're just following along. And as you turn a little bit more, you'll notice that the backs of the hands start to hit off the back of your body. So really around the kidney area is where they're generally hitting off. And you can actually go quite large with this movement once you're familiar with it. And the larger you go, you'll find that the forearms start to hit off the back of the body. So this is all helping to stimulate the flow of energy, of chi, of blood and fluid in the lower back area, which is where the gate of life is located. So keeping going with this and keeping the movement nice and soft. Now, if you find that there's an issue with your knees, there's any pulling on your knees, you can kind of step a little bit, turn it into more of a dance. Just be comfortable with it. Just be very easy and relaxed. Maybe close the eyes, and this then is a little bit more challenging for your balance. And you can perform this exercise for as little or as long a time as you want. But as I said, what it's doing is bringing more energy into the kidney area. Kidney's been involved, obviously, with urination, but also in Chinese medicine, connected with sexuality, sexual reproduction, water balance. And this exercise on a physical level is helping to keep the lower back mobile and flexible. Opening the eyes now. Reduce the amplitude of that movement, coming back to your Qigong stance, closing the eyes, place one hand over the lower abdomen, the other one directly on top of that. Coming back to your abdominal breathing, in and out through the nose. And enjoying a sense of peace, calmness, clarity, tranquility, and inner silence. Just taking a look inwards. And now, still with the eyes closed, bring the hands together in front of you and rubbing them until they get really, really hot in the palms. And then placing one palm over each eye, fingers facing up towards the ceiling. Feeling the heat from the palms radiating through the eyes, through the backs of the eyes, into the mind to nourish the mind. And then giving your face a little rub to bring yourself back into the room. As you do that, gently opening the eyes. Allow the hands to drop down by your sides.